Thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine with your host, Prophetess T. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are on God's green earth. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it is your time to shine with me, your hostess, Prophetess T. So, guys, I have got that good tea. I got that good tea today. We had started the conversation talking about prejudice in the world. And we talked about how that can look for some people, be it because of religious beliefs, be it because of sexual preference, be it because the color of your skin, or maybe because of your disability. We are exposed to different types of prejudice throughout the world. You yourself might be, in your subconscious, without realizing, carrying some type of prejudice. I had kind of discussed how I had to learn to love the skin that I'm in, because myself, being African American, had my own prejudice against my own race. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Me, as dark as the next person, had a problem with people the same complexion as me, just because of things that I experienced, and not having conversations, not having discussions about, why people perceive life, or races, or different ethnicities, handicaps, whatever, why they perceive it that way. So I want to continue this conversation by talking about something that I do believe the world really needs to have now, because if you look across the nation, our our generations that are coming up tend to be a little more mulatto, huh? Yeah. So, like, it's almost like we're fading into one nationality for real, is my perspective, or my perception of the way the world's going, because we have a lot of interracial relationships that are coming about now. But there are still people with the old mindset of, if you're black, you need to stay in your race. If you're white, you need to stay to your race. Races shouldn't be mixing, blase, blah, 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 blah. And that, I don't know where we got that from, but we're going to talk about it on the table today. We're going to talk about some of the struggles some people have coming up as an interracial individual, and being in an interracial relationship, and raising children. We want to talk about some of these conversations, some of the ignorance that they come across, because we haven't had these conversations. But this is what I need you to do before we get started, real quick. Can you hit that button at the bottom of the screen and share? And make sure you invite some people in. This topic may be concerning you, or perhaps maybe it's concerning your neighbor, or your auntie and them, or maybe somebody in your church that could really use some encouragement, as well as some information as to why people conduct themselves the way they do, why we walk around with these pride capes on us, walking around with, chips on our shoulder, or what have you. Today's a good day, and this is a safe place to have this type of conversation. So what I did was I put together a panel of people who themselves can talk from the perspective of being in an interracial relationship, as well as being a child, well, an adult child now, as a biracial individual, and what it's like parenting biracial children. And maybe you haven't birthed, but you're now their parents. So my panel of guests are very experienced at what we're conversating about. So remember, everybody has their opinions. You're entitled to them. But today we're talking from the perspective of these individuals' experiences. So maybe it's not yours. I'm going to tell you again: eat the meat, spit out the bone. If it isn't applicable to you, we don't need to hear your negative, derogatory statements about it. Just go on and move about your business. Amen. Amen. If it doesn't apply to you, then why get bent? If it does cause offense, there's probably something in you need to check. Can we say that? Can we speak truth? Because, like I said, I had to realize I had my own prejudice myself. You know, even being a mother of biracial children, at one point in my mind, I was kind of offended that my sons did not choose African American women to date and to marry. Ah, you saying T for real? Even though you were married to a white man? Yes, I did. I did have that moment, and I had to check myself on that. And that was all because of, once again, conversations that my parents did not have with me, and also because of the lens of my mind that I was looking for, experiences that were on me that I was grouping a whole race into, and I had to get deliverance from that. I can't, just because I come across a few, several, Caucasians that disrespected me and called me out outside of my name, didn't mean the whole race needs to be, labeled that way, right? So, hey, today is the day we're gonna expose that demon, right? So, without further ado, guys, I want to pull my panel from the back. And then I'm going to have them introduce themselves as well to you. And then we're going to get into this good tea. Please feel free, once again, to share and to comment. We want to have a conversation here. Ask these questions. They said that it's safe to ask anything. You guys just don't get ridiculous. Um, let's ask some questions. If you legitimately have something that you're ignorant to, or you lack knowledge of, today's a good day to ask somebody who can really talk to you about the experiences of being in interracial inter. Oh, I didn't forget the word. Lord, it left my mind. What was the word I was thinking? Mixed relationships, interracial relationships. There you go. All right, so let's pull the panel in. Hey, hey, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hey, I'm so glad. I want to thank you for giving up, some of your free time to sit down and have this conversation with us. I appreciate you. All right, guys. So, first of all, I'm going to have mother and daughter introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about them. And then the husband and wife, I'm going to have you come right behind them and introduce yourselves. And then we'll get into a good topic.
Yeah. So I'm Kiana, and this is my daughter Jordan. We currently reside in the Denver area, south of Denver, in Castle Rock, in Colorado. So we're here to at T's request to just help her out, help spread our point of view, if you will, and just help out however we possibly can and answer any questions that we can.
So, can you tell them what your daughter is mixed with and
Yes,
who
yes.
you're
So
married to?
obviously, yeah, me, I'm black. And then, of course, my husband, he is Cuban and Italian. So, yeah, my daughter, she's Hispanic and black, or we call her Cubla-Rican because there is a little Puerto Rican in there too.
Oh,
So,
Lord. Say
so
that
yeah.
a couple times.
She's a little bit of everything, but last name is Italian.
Amen. So, husband and wifey, can you introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Michael, and this is my wife, Jewel Beth. We're not mixed race. we're, we're white, but we're foster parents working on adopting, and we have two mixed race children.
Amen. So, I thought this would be a wonderful and a safe place to have conversations, to ask questions, because uh, experience is different for all of us growing up. So I wanted to give it from the perspective of, a child that grew up, a parent that raised parents who raised interracial mixed race children, and also being married to another race. Some of the struggles and some of the blessings that come with it too. Because I mean, coming up black is hard enough, but then when you throw in something else, it can be a little different. And then, especially if you're a Caucasian family raising biracial children, now you have to be able to expose the children to both races. Not only your culture, but they also need to, be integrated into what the other race is that they're mixed with, or races that they're mixed with, making sure they get a balance so that they can uh, um, wrap their mind around their own personal identity as an individual. And I tell everybody, the one thing that I want people to stop doing is saying they don't see things through color. To me, that's offensive. I want you to see every dark black drop of me, every bit of it. I believe that God made color and it's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with it. We come in different shades, and I don't want it to be ignored. And we need to stop saying that, because there are differences in it, from the texture of our hair to the food we eat, even to the way we enunciate or say things, or
Mhm.
behaviors and things like that. There's a difference, but we all can embrace it and live together as one. We are human. That's what makes us equal. We're children of God, but we do have little differences, and I look at it as we're a different facet of God's characteristics. There's the African American side of God, y'all. There's the Caucasian, there's the Italian, there's the Puerto Rican. We have little things that are in us from our cultures that make us that culture. So I think we need to embrace that and accept that that's everybody's. It's okay with being, different but equal. Amen. So um, I'm going to start off by talking to Jordan. Uh, Jordan, can you tell
Yeah.
us what was it? I guess the first question I want to ask is, when did you realize you were whatever race you are? When did you realize it?
um,
When was it brought to your attention?
I guess it never really bothered me, or I never really to consider. Well, I never really considered my race until I made it here to Colorado, because I was raised in a predominantly black community growing up. Um, Coming here to Colorado, it was a change. I was usually the only black student in my class, so uh, and not to mention my teachers would often preface, and especially in history, any student of color, please come see me at the after class to discuss, because we are discussing topics about slavery and all that, and if it's sensitive for you, you're welcome to leave the class. And it just became more apparent because coming here to Colorado, it was a predominantly white school, so I was typically the what's the word? I was typically the only colored student in most of my classes, and I had to just I didn't really I wasn't really bothered by it, but it became noticeable as more people were approaching me and saying stuff, if that makes
So
sense.
that's crazy to me, because that is totally not how I. Kiana, for you, was that
mhm.
something you experienced as a black individual?
No, not at all. And I will say this. So for me, growing up as a black woman, black girl at the time, it may be a little bit different for me versus per se, like even your day-to-day civilian. I'm going to say civilian black person because I grew up military. And so with my dad being in the army, traveling around different place to different place, it was just kind of a big mixing pot, if you will. Everyone just accepted you for who you were. You went to school with all kinds of races. You didn't have to deal with those transgressions, the prejudices, anything like that. Not to say I never came across it. I will say more so, didn't really I did not get to experience the racism until after I was out of my parents' house and I was living on my own, more in the civilian world, if you will, outside of that military bubble. So for me, no, I didn't experience that growing up.
So that, I mean, now, because the way they teach and everything is totally different. I
Hmm.
never, like for me, really learning about the Black race, our history, I just got the surface stuff, the Martin Luther King, the
Hmm.
Harriet Tubman, the George Washington Carver. That was it. I didn't get into the deep in depths of it, but to kind of put her like the spotlight on you and saying, "Hey, if you're colored, come see me."
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that had to be a little bit uncomfortable. I know for me it would have been because I'd have been looking like, "What are you
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
talking
Yeah. It's
about?"
almost as it, yeah, like you said, it's putting a spotlight on her. It singles her
Yeah.
out. It's okay, you two black people that are in the class, stay after so we could discuss. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So you didn't really go through any experiences as a child with any type of racism or any type of innocence, ignorance things that children say. Jordan, did
I
you or
for
Jordan?
Jordan. Okay.
Oh, well, as a child in Kentucky, no. Because it was like I was in a predominantly black community, and like everyone just got along. But as I grew older and moved out here, let's say there was a lot of name calling in school, and the freedom of kids not getting
Reprimanded.
reprimanded
Hmm.
by white teachers or staff members or security for that prejudice against colored individuals at the school.
So how did that make you feel? I mean, did it make you uncomfortable as far as being able to attend your classes, or how did you
It,
deal with that?
so I had my first instance was in middle school here. And at first, I tried to remember what my mom always told me. If someone's like against you or bullying you, let it go in one ear and out the other. But it was my first ever encounter with it with like another student. Um, and I broke down. Like after class, I broke down. I felt ashamed. I felt uh like gosh, I didn't realize I was even seen like that. Um, sorry, it's a bit difficult to talk about, but
It's okay.
um, I just remember like going to my teacher about it, and he, the school ended up giving me extra time to take care of my mental well-being before I got back into class. Um, but yeah, the first instance wasn't fun. Um, and like going along, I've learned to develop a tolerance for it because it became a very custom thing as I went into high school as well. A lot of students were freely able to say anything.
And that's a shame. And I'm
Hmm.
sorry that you had to experience it. Kiana, as a parent raising a child, how did you think that you had to do anything to prepare your twins for this? Because you have a son as well. So
Yes, yes. They're twins. So oh, when we moved here, honestly, I did not expect that, and I'll tell you why. This tends to be a more liberal state compared to Kentucky, and honestly, that was like the furthest thing from my mind. It's like, granted, um, black people come. It's very rare to see another black person. I have yet, and we've lived in our neighborhood. Let's see, what, 3 years. I don't know that I've seen another black person in our neighborhood, just being honest, that lives here. I can remember actually kind of getting excited, and then I realized, nope, that's the Amazon delivery guy. He does not live here. So, and I can remember even too, when we first moved here, we lived in Aurora, and that Aurora has more, I will say, it's
Diverse,
a lot more.
diverse.
Yeah, it's more diverse. Yeah. Um, and it was interesting because when I would go to church, I went to TD Jake's daughter's church that was out here. And I would go there and see all these black people, and I honestly, I would think to myself, "Where did y'all come from? Where are you hiding?" That sort of thing, you know? And it's not that I need black people, I need to see a black person to be able to justify my being here or make me feel better about myself. It's not even that. It's just that sense of community, if you will. Um, it I did not expect my kids to have to go through what they did in school here.
So I want to pull the parents in as well on the conversation because I know you guys have questions as well. But I want to ask you something before you get started, and then if you got questions for Jordan or Kiana, please feel free to ask them as well. How has it been for you two raising biracial children?
Um, I mean, at home it's been no problem. It's raise them like you would any other kid. It's what we were running into is we live a pretty white life. Like our church is mostly white, our neighborhood is mostly white, our and pretty much everyone they see is white in their school too. And the problem we were running into was with our son. He didn't get into foster care for no reason. You know, they so their only experiences with people of their skin color were terrible. They were like evil people with their skin color is all they've ever seen. So when we live in a very white life, it was hard to get him because he got where and he's very young. He's early elementary school, but he got where he just didn't like his own skin color because he only associated it with that. So trying to implement more into it, and we've made good some good adjustments that's helped him a lot because he's very young. It's not deeply ingrained into him. He's very young, but like just having two soccer coaches that are his skin color
makes
on
a difference for him.
Made a huge difference for him. And like music, we'll play music videos of like Christian artists with his skin color, and then he's like, just seeing any positivity at all with people of his skin color has helped him a lot, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
because
awesome.
with our girl, it was easier because every Disney character, every Disney princess that comes out lately is all her skin color.
yeah.
You know,
And so it's awesome for her.
Makes
She's
it
like,
easy.
you know, and Barbie dolls, things like that. And
Yeah.
it was really easy for her.
Hot Wheels don't have races though,
Right.
So
Yeah, so when he's mentioning monster
Yeah.
trucks and Hot Wheels, it's a little bit harder. And I didn't even think of it as an issue, you know, or as a thing that we would have to you know, go through, having like him being able to just love and accept himself, because I grew up a military brat as well. And so, you know, I guess it was kind of an ignorance of my own, just like, well, you know, I'm okay with, you know, everybody, so they'll be okay too. And you know, they always talk about in foster care, they, you know, you go through different trainings of like, they come with an invisible suitcase of, you know, issues you don't even know about. And that was one of them in that kind of invisible suitcase. It was just kind of like just nothing I would have thought about until
and it came up rarely. Race came up rarely at all when they came, but when they did, we just said God made everybody, and we didn't really realize that we needed more than that till a little more recently.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, you know, tip my hat to you guys because you did take an interest in being concerned and wanting to make sure that you did implement them learning about their culture as well, because we got good and evil in all races, you know. So and like I said, I can kind of relate to your son's issue because like I stated in my podcast last week, I hated being black. I didn't know I was black until, you know, like you know, Kiana has said, and Jill Beth, being an army brat, it's different because you do have, you know, multi cultural different races. Everybody was running in and out of my parents' house. My parents never discussed race. I never heard, any of the slanderous words until my dad got out the service, and we moved to Ohio, and that's when I learned I was black. Because the first time, my brother come home from school, he and I, we've always been the minority in the schools, even though, it was different races. It was always maybe one or two black people when I was a child going to school. And the first time, we moved to Ohio and started attending school there, we lived in a predominantly white neighborhood as well. Um, my brother comes home and he tells my mom, "Hey, somebody called me the N word," but he said it. And my mother said, "The next time that happens, you make sure you dust them." And that's all that was said. It was never an explanation as to why. Why are we dusting them? But they got dusted because that's what we were taught to do. You didn't get talked to. That was a bad word. That was not who you were. And that was it. It was never really, I don't remember my parents ever sitting down and having that conversation with us. So I kind of went through even, growing up, when I ended up going to a predominantly black school, being petrified of all these people. There's way too many of them colored folks in this school. and
Yeah.
and I learned then myself that that's exactly who I was, but I took offense to them. And like I had it in my head, I'm going to make sure I get out of the sixth grade so I don't have to be in this school with these people. And then they picked on me because I enunciated my words, as we say. They say we
Yeah.
sound white because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't speak ghetto urban verbiage. So I got made fun of for that,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole lot of other things. So I really hated black people. I used to walk around and think that I was white. I was putting towels on my hair. Probably why I really like, wigs and weave and everything, and flipping my hair. And I still to this day lay out in the sun. I'm getting as black as I can get. I actually love it. But it's the ignorance of the conversations even my parents did not have with me
Right.
that caused me a lot of heartache growing up. Um, so I'm glad we're having this. So I want to give Jewel Beth and Michael an opportunity that if you want to ask some questions, ask away for
No,
what you might have to experience or
yeah,
what you're.
yeah, you're talking about it earlier, but like the whole come up front so I can ask you if you want to hear about history or not. Like that's way worse than just teaching the class, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
That's
Yeah.
like it seems like they were talking about it like it's a disability. Like
Yeah, and like
That's
he
it's
would say it right in front of everyone too, and I felt so singled out.
right.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. And then, I even take offense to the actuality that they think if we don't teach it no more, that racism's just going to disappear. No, sir, no,
Right.
ma'am. No, sir, no,
Right.
ma'am. And it's been something it's something that's been going on for years, but it's also a healing that needs to happen that hasn't happened. Even though I didn't grow up as a slave, I understand the struggles because of the experiences that I had to walk through. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things Michael and Jobeth that you'll need to identify with too is as your son, if he starts to darken, um, as he gets older, because we tend to do that as we get older, our complexion gets a little bit darker. Um, uh, it's a different type of conversation you have to have with Black males, as far as their identity and how their behaviors and how people will perceive them. I had to have that conversation. I never dreamed that I would have to have that conversation, because, like I said, nothing ever happened with myself and my brothers that I remember with my parents. But I had to have that conversation with my sons because of the experiences I had. As I got married, and I had kids, and I would live in this one complex. It was a town actually that was known for the Klan, being predominantly there. Every time I walked to the store, I walked to the park, I got called the N word just for no reason, walking down the street. I ain't said two words to nobody, and hey, nee, hey, you black. I mean, just all kind of crazy stuff. And I had one day where my son came home. He was in kindergarten. This is the killer. And he says, "Mommy, I want to be like Daddy." And I'm like, "Oh."
Mm.
Well, thinking when he said, "I want to be like Daddy," like, maybe what his dad did. His dad was a tool die maker. No, Mommy, I want to be like Daddy. So
Mm.
Dad's white, and he's Jordan's complexion. And I was like, "Baby, you got the best of both worlds. You got Mommy and Daddy in you. You'll never be like Daddy." And he busted out crying. It's like I destroyed his whole world. And how do you comfort? How do you console that? How do you fix that? Just because another innocent child, came up and had a conversation. They seen his dad with him and had seen me. And then because of the ignorance of the child innocently saying something, now a whole little another dialect had to manifest for me and my sons because I ended up having all three boys. So these are things that, like I was saying, Michael and Jill Beth, the experiences that the children will go through, it's something that they will have to adjust to. Like Jordan was saying, she hadn't experienced it actually until almost getting to being an adult, which kudos for that. And like I said, black people can be just as bad as Caucasians, Mexicans, Italian, Cubans, Asians, all of us. We got our hangups, and having to come up and feel less than or devalued because of the color of your skin, because of ignorance or bigotry, is terrible. So there is a conversation you kind of do have to have with our kids,
Yeah.
to prepare them for life, because I mean, that's the world we live in. But I think not discussing the hardships that the race came up in is not going to resolve that issue. So I'm glad that you guys are, putting that in. Like I said, it's important not just that they read about it, but that they actually are around the culture, and then they can uh, identify as they choose. Jordan, I noticed, or I'm sorry, uh, uh, Jordan. Uh, I'm thinking Dion, but anyways, I'm gonna say it to you. um, I noticed that you say you're black, so
Yes.
that's a hang up I had too. When my sons were born, my first son was born in the hospital, and I noticed I don't know if they do that anymore on the baby's thing, if they put the race on there anymore, but it
They
had.
did not for them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, when I came up, they had that he was black. I said, excuse me, ma'am, sir. He's
Hmm.
not black.
Hmm. Hmm.
And she goes, well, whatever the mother is what we identify the child as. And I was like, how so? So you mean to tell me if he'd have been this complexion, but a white lady would have had him, you would have still said you would have said he was white? No,
Yeah.
you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. But I always instilled it. I even forced the school that my children were going to put another box
Yes. Yep.
as part of the description. Um,
Hmm.
because my children, I never told them they were black, nor did I tell them that they were white. I told them that they were biracial or mulatto,
Hmm.
um, because we have Mexican in us as well. So what made you decide just to say you're black? That's what I'm getting to. I always go around the mountain and through the woods. Why do you not just identify as biracial? Why do you say you're black? Or even have you even thought of that?
I've never thought of that. Well, it's
Because I mean, you got your dad over there.
it's just I don't it it's just how I've always grown up around most of my mom's family, so I guess it's been kind of instilled in me to call myself that rather than identify with my other half. But
But I will say this as her parent, I have always told her, it's like, you guys really need to learn who you are. You know, you're beautiful children, but you need to learn who you are on both sides, my side and your dad's side. I even try to push, learn some Italian, learn some Spanish, that sort of thing, because I want them to understand their culture, all of it, their cultures, plural. So, I understand why she may resonate more with Black people because, yes, she's right. She grew up mainly around my family. Um, but I never want them to forget who they are entirely.
Amen. Mike,
Mhm.
Jewess, y'all got any questions? And
Oh man, I had one and then I forgot it. It was
I'll just say add on to that, like,
yeah.
I think that's also, and this is just me throwing this out here, and I could be completely wrong. I think it's a like a society thing too. Like you said, on like there are sometimes on like school things, there's not another box. Are you white or are you black? And so
Mhm.
I think it's also that like, you should have always the option to put other, and things like that. That just kind of popped in my head. I'm like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, growing up, I think, it's just one or the other. It's like they act like there's nothing else. But
My I remember my question now. It was you talk you're talking about and this is we're hoping to adopt these kids. It's not entirely up to us, but if we can, we absolutely will. So Lord willing, if we get to adopt these kids, and down the road, you were talking about the conversation you have with a young male. What what did you tell your sons to navigate the prejudices?
well, for me and Kiana, if you've had to do it with Dion, I don't know if you've had to. For me, and this is something I had to do. Their dad couldn't do. Um, was you're always going to be looked at as black. They're never going to see the other side of you because of the complexion of your skin. They're
Mhm.
always going to relate to you. That's the first thing that comes to somebody's mind is you're black. Now more or less they'll say you're mixed with something or whatever, but there's a different tone that parents teach. My kids, you get pulled over in a car, you do nothing but lay your hands on the dashboard, pull your ID out, all that, lay it there. You don't get smart with the officer. You don't move. Anytime you move or make a movement, uh, you do exactly what he said, and it's not out of respect that I'm so much saying this. It's out of I want you to live from that experience
Right.
because it has and it is and it is and it is. And I can tell you this from my perspective, from my experiences with police officers as well. Coming up in a neighborhood where uh, I want to say it's like the outskirts of the ghetto. Me and my little white husband and my biracial children lived over in this area, and because of the mindset of the community, the officers addressed you differently. So it wasn't that you were a citizen; it was because of the area you are in, their perspective, their mindset of what they're dealing with. So they talk to you, they handle you a different way. So I had to have that conversation with my boys that look, you got to do this because we want you to live. And there's people who are going to look at you and not like you. They could have had a bad experience before you even came along, and just because in their mind, their minds wrapped around with this kind of look. Because my sons, until they until you see them, you would think they're Caucasian, hearing them speak, because there's a white sound y'all have that we actually are supposed to have, which is just proper speaking. um, but when you look at them, my boys look like every now and again they look like boys in the hood. The sagging pants, because my son has no derriere, so his pants naturally sag. Um, Sometimes my one of my sons rocks an afro or mohawk or what have you, tats, piercings. So there's a perspective that I had to give them to tell them to survive whatever you're going through. Just do these things. Whereas when Caucasians or other lighter races have this conversation is out of reverence and respect for the officer to do this and this. For us, it's the conversation if you need to live. So that's what I was talking about as far as those are the type of conversations we have to have. And it's just once again because of prejudice and ignorances, I had to expose my children to that because a lot of that even is being brought out now where people are seeing it more. But I think that's just hyping up the races against each other. But it is something that does happen. And
Yeah.
it was some things that I've experienced, how I was handled by officers as well. So and people that I grew up around, seeing it, seeing how they talked and treated them, not handling them as an individual just because of the area they were in, you know. So Kiana, I don't know if you had to do any of that with Dion or.
I have, especially, I would always tell him, if this happens, just make sure that you listen, do what's asked of you. But I think it became more polarized for me, and I really, really, I said a lot more after George Floyd, after his death. Because I mean, that it was enough going on in our society. And when that happened to him, that I was like, okay, we have to have this conversation. Even though my kids are twins, my son is more my complexion. Um, if you look at my son, you just see he's a black man. Even though his hair is curly, it's not like, most black people's hair, because again, he's half his dad. But at the same time, when people see him, they see him for his color, the color of his skin. So I really had to just kind of tell him, like, really get it into his mind. Like, if you get pulled over and you're out, and I was like, please do whatever is asked of you. Don't say anything unless asked of you. Just like you said, it's more for survival. It's not having respect for that officer, it's survival. I can remember Tony, my husband, actually came and picked me up from the airport, and the kids were in the back seat. I was in the passenger seat. Tony got pulled over. His tags were expired. He forgot to get his tags. And I remember it was almost as if it was just a subconscious thing. I set my hands on my lap, just like this, just put my hands right on my lap, didn't move them because I wanted the officer to see I wasn't reaching for anything. I told my kids, be quiet, put your hands on your lap. I shouldn't have had to have done that. And it's not that the officer did anything to make me feel that way. It's just with the way society is going right now, I didn't want to take any chances, and it's like, yeah, I'm in an interracial relationship, my husband not being black. But if you look at my husband, he's not white either. He's a minority too, so.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not just putting it so much as on a black race. It's in any,
Yeah.
culture, of any, color that you can have these experiences. I'm sure there's Caucasians that have had experiences as well, but it's predominantly within the black race that you see a lot of this. And that's why we do have different types of conversation. And it has to be had. And that's why I said history can't be erased. In order to understand why we think and move or sound the way you have to go back to that. And it's like a generational curse that's in the blood lineage, that fear, that anxiety, that bitterness, that hostility is been through the lineage. I mean, I've had stories told to me from my grandparents that were outrageous. From my mother. My mother grew up in a time when racism was it was bald face out there. Um, I, and so you do have to have these conversations with your kids so that when the experience does happen, it doesn't, drive them to suicidal thoughts and things like that because of who they are. And it's also helping them to embrace like every part of them, the Italian, the Cuban, the Mexican, whatever else that's in them and embracing it and then identifying yourself. Danny's actually going to show y'all my youngest son and my grandbabies. Um, with my granddaughters, and like I brought this up to my sons. I always ask this question. I'm the darkest thing that they see a lot of the time, because my sons don't have a lot of African American friends. The majority of their friends, close friends, are white. But the kids are more or less exposed to my side of the family, because believe it or not, the kid's dad's family was very racist. And they're on my page, so they're going to hear this. There is no lie. They can say whatever they want to. When I got involved with him, they didn't want him to have anything to do with me because I was black.
Mhm.
It could have been any other race, but it was specifically because I was black. So my kids have kind of cleaved towards my family. And I do believe that's why my boys say they're more or less, they do the same thing. They say they're black. Every
Mhm.
now and again, you'll hear them say they're biracial. But I asked them the question. You can go ahead and show the picture, Danny, with my granddaughters. Look at them babies. Um, I say to them, because they're in the age now where all of them are in school. I say, do they ever ask y'all, why is Mama T so dark? Do they ever have that question come out? They have not. And my oldest grandchild is 12. And the sad thing is, I've told my sons, be prepared for when this conversation does happen, because whenever one of their classmates, what have you, if they have parents that have issues, when that child sees me walk with them kids and they tell them who I am, there's going to be a conversation had that these
Mhm.
girls and my grandsons never thought of. It's going to happen. I remember the first time when Chad graduated, my oldest son, his son, he was there, and I was holding my grandson. And of course, like I said, you see them, they're blonde hair and blue eyes. They ain't get that from me.
Mhm.
People were looking at me, um, and I was like, he's mine. Like, he's mine. Why are you acting like that? Just because it wasn't for me, having a white male and being a black female. That wasn't common in my time. It was more common to see a black man with a white woman. So I was getting looked at for one reason for that. And then for who is this white baby she's holding on and fussing at? Because if I'm correcting, now they're looking like, who is she? And what gives her the right to say that to that child? This is mine.
Mhm.
I got every right to say, whatever. And I had to, like, get some people. "Well, why are you looking at me like that?" And this was before, my closer walk with God. Some other things might have been said. Amen. So, but
Grandmas get a pass on a lot of stuff, though.
yeah. So
They
that's what
do.
but I'm saying, because of the stuff that was instilled in me, um, from experiences of people. Like when I got around, who I got my history from was my mom's family. My
Mhm.
auntie and them was like all black power. You need to know that you're black, and black, blackity, black. I mean, they went into the whole history of every black thing concerning them. And
Yeah.
so when that's instilled in you, you look at things, you look at life through a different lens as well. And I love my grandchildren's innocence right now, and I pray that they never have to experience what you had to experience, Jordan. But I know it's coming, because the spirit of the world. That's why you see all this racism rising up in these conversations,
Yeah.
one-sided conversations. It's either all
Mhm.
black or all white, and we
Mhm.
need to come together. And even if you don't understand, just say, "But I hear you." You know, I may
Yeah.
never understand, because I haven't walked in your shoes, but I do hear you, and you have to understand. It's a lot of hurt that's behind this. I watch a lot of stuff to even educate myself to understanding other races and ethnicities. Because, like I told you, I really didn't identify as black, even though I'm the blackest thing on this podcast right now. until it was instilled in my head that I was black, um, and not in a good way. So it took me learning to love who I am and my complexion, and um, being okay with everybody else not being okay with the color of my complexion.
Yeah.
But understanding that I still have value and worth regardless of what they feel or think.
Yeah.
But I think having these conversations help kind of soothe the tension that the world wants to put out there. We're not.
Well
We're not.
said.
I'm not trying to be against nobody. I'm not trying to say that black is better than anything. I
Right.
just want to be validated and seen for what I am. Um, I'm a child of God foremost, but I am a black woman, and I want to be seen for both of those things. Um, so, Joe Beth, Mike, do y'all have any other questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah, I have one. And I mean, I had the question, and I think you kind of partially answered it for me, but I'm still going to ask it.
Okay.
Like you said, people giving you looks with your granddaughters, and who are you? I feel like how do you like specifically respond to people like that? Because even when I'm out with my kids, and they see my kids are biracial and I'm not, and sometimes I guess maybe it's not something they say, maybe it's kind of like the attitude, or they kind of throw off. It's like well, those clearly are not your kids, who,
Yeah,
just that attitude around it. And how do you deal with that?
There's that, and then there's people who are like way too excited about it.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
really weird to get opposite ends. It's either it's like, what's the situation going on here?
Yeah.
Or it's the like
Mhm.
overly like the way to like, oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
awesome.
We didn't
Yeah.
ask what the kids' races were before we took
Yeah,
it in.
because
It wasn't a factor.
it's not. Yeah, it wasn't a.
Yeah.
It just. So I'm like, how do you deal with that on when you are out, and it's like there's that weird, that it's like the elephant in the room. Like, yeah, I realize my kids are biracial and I'm not. Like, let's move on
Right.
past it.
You just go head first into it.
Yeah, like how do you?
Because I always just completely, I just like, yeah, these are my kids.
Yeah, I'll just ignore the elephant in the room,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Which to me seems like the move so far, just being like, no, that's my son.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you're close enough to us, you know what it's about. If not, that's all right. That's pretty much how
I guess that acceptance thing.
Kiana, you want to answer?
Yeah. So before our kids even came along, we used to get looks because my husband's not black, I'm not Hispanic. And I learned early on in our relationship, yeah, people are going to look, people are going to talk. Unfortunately, like T, I was not accepted by everyone on his side. Um, but when the kids came along, I think I was strong enough at that point, but I will say when we were going through the looks, the stares, and what are people going to think? Literally, someone asked us this: "What are people going to think seeing you two together?" And it's like, I don't, I don't recall them like chipping in to pay any of our bills.
Yeah, I guess whatever they
I
feel.
don't, yeah, I don't recall them having a heaven or hell to send us to.
Yeah.
I don't recall any of that. So with that being said, I grew to have that mentality. I never got the looks with regards to our kids because again, people see skin color, so they just okay, these are her kids. It was more so, especially if my husband just went out with my son because he's my color. My husband is not. So it was more of a thing with him. Oh, well, is that his son? Is that because that's a black boy? It's like, okay, is that really? I do remember once when the kids were younger, Jordan was actually lighter. Like T said, we get darker. So Jordan was actually lighter. And I remember going shopping with my husband's mom, and I love her to pieces, so nothing bad there. Went shopping with his mother for their Christmas outfits for their pictures. And the lady in the store just immediately assumed that his mom, she's Cuban, assumed that his mom was her mother. Just off the bat, just that's her mom. Your child is so beautiful. Oh my goodness. And I was thinking like, oh, like, that's my baby. But it's just I think I just had the approach of I could care less what you all think. If you're happy for us, fine. If you're not, I don't know what to tell you. Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
I think as long as you embrace your relationship and who you are with your kids, that's all that matters. Because people are going to look, and people are going to be ignorant. Me, on the other hand, like I said before, my closer walk with God, I had sarcasm, so clapback was major with me. I asked, "What you looking at? What's your question?" Yes, it's mine. So that was me. But like I said, I had that healing and um, the lens that I was looking from through pain. So those were my things. But now I don't even say nothing because I know people are going to look. And if you're bold enough to ask me, I will tell you, yes, these are my children. Yes. Oh, you got a biracial. I'm like, y'all kill me. These babies don't think nothing about that. So why are you even bringing it up?
Right.
Yeah, it's
right.
kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird though, because like we don't.
Yeah.
99% of the time, we don't think of ourselves as raising.
Yeah.
It's,
So I don't bring it up. I don't address it. But I mean, if the door is opened, I will say something. But I kind of tend on those kind of things. I don't address it. I just kind of go with, well, either they think that's like you said, they're overexcited about it, or they're just ignorant, and people gonna be who they are. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know how to cut that phone off. But we got a question. All right. Okay. So Jordan, what suggestion can you give Michael and Jill Beth to help their children deal with innocent, naive comments from other children?
Yeah, that's like and I know it's to y'all, but I'm saying just from my perspective, it's these two kids in early elementary school, and they don't see many people of other races, and never have because they're so young. So they could say whatever. They could be like, "Why is your skin so dark?" or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, so when I was in elementary school, my school was actually pretty diverse with both white and black, so it was like pretty balanced. But I've always had those few kids ask like, "Are you Mexican? Why are you so light? Why are you so dark?" And I'm like, "Well, I have these are my words as being 6 years old. My daddy's Hispanic and my mom's black," and they're like, "Prove it!" And I'm like, "Here's a picture of them." But as in regard to like responding to comments, even though they're pretty young for their age, I don't think they'll be like noticing it as well. But as they get older, if they do encounter comments like that, I do advise, is what my mom would tell me, let it go in one ear and out the other. And if you do choose to interact with that, just be respectful. Just like, don't let comments get to you. That's what I had to learn the hard way going into middle school and then high school. Kids are gonna say what they're gonna say. Kids are mean the more older they get. So and I think honestly it's just about like popularity in school or whatever. But just let it go in one ear and out the other. Don't listen to what these kids are telling them. And you might have to have that discussion with your children as they reach my age or into middle school, like preteen. A lot of kids are going to say some pretty ignorant stuff, and I'm assuming it comes like from their parents. But just like tell them not to blame those kids because they're probably just reacting to what they were raised in, like the environment they were raised in, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think what you guys are doing, making sure that you always give positive affirmation of letting them know that they're beautiful, and embracing the beautiful parts of them, and showing them positivity in their race. That's absolutely, right there. Like I said, I'm so glad you but that's important because we have good and bad. Like I said, we have evil and good. Like for me, my bad experiences were with the black kids. um, but when I got older, it was the Caucasians that made my life, hell. I
I
mean, they
can
were the
relate.
ones
Yeah.
that were
Well,
tormenting me.
that's like
His, go ahead.
that's like sorry, that's like another thing. If someone like me encountering this when I had instances where kids were mocking me for the color of my skin, I remember my aunt telling me, like, just tell them, God bless you, or have a nice day. I hope you're doing okay. And I've done that to one person that, like, mocked me for being black. And they just stopped. They paused, like, because they weren't expecting that response. And literally since then they haven't made another comment about it. They just walked away. Like, I think people who try to be mean or
Invoke anger.
invoke anger or
Hmm.
provoke a trigger, and you respond in a positive, or hey, I'm not dealing with this right now. um, they don't know how to react to that, and I've never dealt with it since. But I think it's just positive, just being positive back and not fueling the flames of negativity further or inciting a reaction that they want to see.
I think that's good advice. And like I said, you guys, I think, are doing an amazing job by, like I said, don't just let them read about it, but allow them to experience the culture as to, because I mean, there's some incredible, gifted, talent, unique. I mean, you see it. I look at the Olympics, they're tearing them up. So, I mean, we have amazing individuals that are doing positive things within the community. That's black and white races. They need to be exposed to the beauty of both races. Like I said, I told my kids, y'all got the best of both worlds.
Hmm.
So, and that's what and makes it wonderful. And I love my granddaughters. um, I'm so grateful that they don't see my color yet, but I know when it happens, it'll be a good conversation. At least I don't know that I'll have to have something as traumatic as what I got exposed to. I pray I don't ever have to hear about that conversation being with them. With me, I think it was like Kiana said, being exposed to it, and I had to live through it and learn from it in order to teach my kids because his
Hmm.
family was like, you guys should really think about this. Like you said, your kids are going to have a hard time. They're going to be made fun of. They're going to be picked up by who? You. That was
Hmm.
it. But when
Hmm.
the kids came along, that's when their family wanted to, intermix with me. And this is God. This is God. This is nothing but God. Now, his sister's son married a black girl. She's got biracial children. So
Mm.
I said that's the sense of humor of God to me. So now their mindset and all that has changed because now it's even, it's closer in their home. But even his nieces, the first time they encountered me, I was the first black person that ever walked in that house. And the girls were like, "Oh, your pantyhose are so pretty." I was like, "Baby, that's my skin."
Oh my goodness.
And I had to tell them that they were 4, but it's
Yeah.
because they had never been exposed to a black person. But that's all I can tell y'all to do is they're going to experience it. Just be prepared to give affirmation, love, and hugs, and just hear, you know, um, and don't allow them to make it their home. You don't
Hmm.
have to accept anybody else's statements as your truths, we believe what God says about us, and that's that we're beautifully and wonderfully made. When He created us, that we're miraculously created. So we stand on that, and I think being that they're young, as long as you get that instilled in them, that as they grow older, it'll be easier, and they're going to have to deal with it in their own little ways. But if you keep that positive affirmation in their head, I think it'll help them flow through it. um,
Hmm.
even if they, get hit with it.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree because that's the one thing I've always told my kids. Just know who you are and trust and know that you are made in his image. You're beautiful. Point blank, it's like who cares what anyone else has to say? If they have anything negative to say about it, just know you're beautifully made. You are beautiful. So,
Absolutely. And you're beautiful. I think both of my nieces are beautiful
thank you.
and intelligent, very bright women. It's a powerhouse right there. Jordan's gonna be rich. She's gonna come take care of her
She
auntie.
is. She is. She'll take care of all of us.
So, Jill Beth, Mike, y'all got anything else you want to say or ask?
No,
Yeah, I'll let you
I'm
have the
good.
floor.
Yeah, we covered a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And like I want to say once again, you guys are amazing parents. Um, and just go with the punches. And trust me, there's gonna be wait till they hit teenage years. Be prepared for
Yeah.
that. So you're doing an amazing job. I think the way that you've handled this situation is great. And like I said, as long as you keep, positive reinforcement, allowing them to be exposed to their cultures, both sides. Um, I always try to encourage my kids, y'all need to get some black friends. So your kids will know what black people are like for real. So just because I don't want them to be shocked by anything, but and that's hilarious for real because my baby son, his best friend was black, and my grandson, his best friend is black. But I'm glad that they got that balance to 'em. Now, believe it or not, my grandson is whiter than you, Michael and Jubeth, and he says he's black. And I'm waiting for that. Like I'm waiting for his friends to come back and say something, but he says he's black. I'm like, baby, I don't know.
Waiting for somebody to not believe it. Huh?
Yeah. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm fine with it. If that's how you identify it, amen. I don't discourage it.
Yeah.
However they see, I have always said biracial to my kids, but they chose to say what they wanted to
Hmm.
identify with. And I do think it kind of depends on uh, what mostly influences them, I think. I really
Yeah.
do. Um, yeah. So, guys, I want to thank you really once again for giving us some of your time today. I hope this blessed somebody. I hope it helped you, Michael and Jobeth, Jordan, Kiana. I hope you guys got something out of it as well. And I hope anybody that's been listening in or who will watch later on, because that's the majority of the people I get in my inbox is people who watch it afterwards. I hope this blesses you, but we do need to have conversations. Don't be afraid to ask. I think the only ignorant question is the one not asked. And if you're doing it out of innocence of just not knowing, the Bible says we perish for lack of knowledge. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're doing it out of hostility or just, downright prejudice, I pray you get deliverance. And, God can do that for you. He did it for me. I love being black. Uh, I thank God for that because had it not been for me loving black, Danny would have never stood a chance. Because I was adamant I wasn't gonna be with no black man. So I thank God for embracing that. And then isn't that the funniest thing? God gives me the blackest man he can find. Everything I want to pick for myself. But I love you. I love you. I love you. So yeah, I hope that we can continue to have these conversations. And guys, um, I pray that you guys always feel safe and comfortable. That if you do have questions, if we can help, I want to be here for you. I You're amazing parents. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud
Yeah.
of you to be so young, and ready and willing because they're newlyweds too. So I
Oh,
mean, they're newlyweds.
congrats.
And then taking on a family, a new business, and everything. God is doing amazing things with you guys. I'm so proud of you. I'm glad to say I call you family. Oh, and a shameless plug Can you tell them about your coffee house too? Because you got to tell them about your coffee house.
You go ahead.
Yeah, it's Mountain Mike's Coffee House in Glendale.
Yeah, amazing. When you come back here, Kiana, when you come down, you got to
Yeah.
go check it out. I'm serious.
I'll be there next month. I have
All
to fly
right.
in for work.
Yeah. So you gotta go check them out. Let me know when you're down
Yeah.
or whatever, and we can all go. Because down, even they got Danny drinking stuff. Danny
Oh,
don't drink.
really?
Yes. I forget which drink Danny likes. He says Jewel Beth knows which one I like. So yeah, Shay actually got Danny to pick up some coffee.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Especially since granddaddy, since Junior put it in his head to drink coffee makes you blacker. So
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that.
So, guys, once again, thank you for allowing us to see the favor of God on your life, that you are a blessing. And I just, want to speak that into your life, that God is greater for you guys. And because you were so willing to be servants today and to serve a community that really needed to hear, this message. And prayerfully, there will be some walls that are broken down and some yokes that are broken, some chains that are loose off of people. I want to thank you. I truly do want to thank you for that, for being stewards of the Lord, and showing his light through your love for one another and your community. So that's amazing, guys, because foster parents are definitely needed. And there are plenty of babies out here that could use stability, for whatever reason that they may have been pulled out of their homes. So once again, guys, you're doing an amazing job. I am proud of you, proud to call you family. And family, I love you. And can't wait to see you guys. So thank you again. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So I want to thank you guys for they know I told them. Make sure y'all don't go nowhere. Y'all stay right there.
Yeah, we're
But
still.
for the rest of y'all, I want to thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it is your time to shine. And when I say that, that's for you to know that no matter what is going on in the natural, the favor of God is upon you and in your life. And you know why I say that? Because you're standing today where you are. You're breathing in and out with your lungs. You have the ability to use your hands, and your mind is stable. And if you don't think that, let's get right. Let's get some deliverance and get some freedom, because God is willing and able to do for you anytime that you're open to receive what he has for you. And I'm telling you, you walk in the favor of God. You just got to pull that out of yourself and live it. Live life to the fullest. You declare the word of God over your life. I am redeemed. I am forgiven. I am a child of God. I am single-minded. I am Christ-minded. I am blessed and highly favored. That's what we say here on I've Got Favor, where it is your time to shine. Thank you again. See you next week. Peace. We thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine with Prophetess T. Hey guys,
Hello.
everybody okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.